We're going to be looking at Love Song by Tesla. I think this is one of the greatest songs of the 80s. It has so many great elements. It's got a great intro, great interludes, killer solo, nice ballad elements. It really is kind of like the all-in-one song. We're going to break it down into little sections. So we'll kind of have like the intro part, which kind of like sets the tone for everything. Now with most fingerstyle stuff, the right hand is usually assigned names. Like this is P-I-M-A. We typically don't use the pinky, so we're going to be using the thumb, index, middle, ring, P-I-M-A. We're not going to stay super strict to like a classical fingering, but it is going to kind of follow that. Usually with classical fingering, thumb covers the top three strings, the bass strings as we would call them, the E, A, and D. G is with your index, B is middle, ring is A. So we'll kind of stick to that. It might jump around a little bit. And with any type of melody, any single note melody, usually these two fingers will kind of alternate, almost like alternate picking. They kind of just take turns. You don't really want to play with one finger too much if you're playing with a melody. So just kind of keep some of that stuff in mind. It doesn't have to be exact, but it will definitely help it flow. The trick with a song like this too is really breaking it down into sections and doing it very slow and getting that muscle memory and coordination built up. So the beginning part, pretty much each little section in this part here, in this whole beginning part, is going to have a bass note ringing out with some stuff happening over top of it, or kind of squeezing two notes with a few notes in between. Some of the stuff is based on chord shapes. It might not look like it at first, but we'll kind of point those out. But the very, very intro is just this little melodic run with an open D. So we have a D that's going to be ringing out. So we start out with pinky on 8. And then we're going to do this big pull off, where we're going to pull off from 8 to 7 to 5. And then we're going to slide up to 7. Now, you could also, when you hit that 7, you could hit it with your thumb to play the bass note. So like this, watch. Alright, so we get a little slidey in there. It doesn't have to be in there, but it's pretty cool. So that's without the bass note. Now I'm going to put it in as it is in the recording. Alright, and the timing is very kind of free flow. One thing you have to remember with this song is there's lots of layers. It's not just one guitar. That's a big misconception people have when they listen to these songs, is they think it's just one guitar, but it may sound like one guitar, but there's lots of layers, okay? So like that kind of flies in quicker than almost you can get to it. So that's an overdub. And especially after the first cycle through of this, if you listen really close, it's really very cool, the overdubs that they did and how they kind of interweave and connect all the parts together. But it's definitely not one guitar. So I've kind of gone through and I kind of made we're playing pretty much the main part, but I did add a couple little elements from some of the overdubs because I thought they were cool. So here's that beginning part again. Okay, now we're going to go into the next part. I guess we'll call this part 2. This is kind of like the main riff in the beginning part here. And it's based on, before we even jump into it, it's based on a D chord, an A, B minor, which is a very, very classic progression. That's a 1-5-6-4 progression. Very, very classic, all right? And rock, pop, all sorts of music. So the first part is based on a D chord. Even though we're not playing a full D shape, it's based on a D chord. All right, so we have this. We're going to do open and then this F sharp up here, okay, which would usually be in your D chord. Use pointer finger for that. Then we're going to play 3. Now for this part here, we're going to go, this is a trill. We're going to go 2, 3, 2, 0. So it's a hammer on, pull off, pull off. So that'll take a little getting used to. So watch it slow. Hammer on, pull off, pull off. So that's a good spot just to kind of work on that a bunch. I'm sure there's ways you could shortcut that, but if you do it, you can get it. Okay, now the next part, we're gonna go to an A as your bass note, and we have this little melody on the B string from the 2nd fret. So I'm just going 2, 3, 5. So from the beginning, it's... Now we're gonna go right into a B minor chord, okay? And I'm gonna be using all my fingers over here for this part. Okay, nice little picking pattern. Usually when you're finger picking, these fingers would stay assigned to these strings. We're basically just kind of shifting them up one. And then the next chord is based on a G. Even though I'm only playing one note, or one bass note, I'm gonna put it all together now. We're gonna do that 3 times. 4th time around is when there's a little change. Starts off the same, does a little fake out, and then it gets a little more complicated with it and kind of brings it into the next part. So it starts off like the first part. Then this really nice transition here. 2 and 3. Okay, which is actually kind of the inside of a G chord. This is a G B chord. Then I have open A and 2 on the B string, which is A and C sharp, part of an A chord. Okay, now this one's a little weird. So I have a G sharp in the bass, and then open E. So altogether, this part's gonna go. All right, nice transition there. Now we're gonna go into this little partial G chord. Now an A chord, you can play the 1 finger A, 3 finger, whatever's comfortable for you. Now this chord here, this is a D/F sharp. So I have a F sharp in my bass, and then I have A, which is on the 2nd fret of the G string, and I have my D down here. So it's like I'm playing a D, but taking this F sharp and transplanting it up to here. Some people call that a slash chord or an inversion, all right? But it's like a D, and we're taking the F sharp that's usually here and bringing it up to here. We're changing the root note or the bass note. And then this part, we're gonna go, the main guitar on the recording does a picking thing, but we're gonna do this neat little kind of overlay that kind of happens there. Okay, so this is a little 2 finger. Next part. Okay, that's pretty much the beginning part. Now let's put it all together. as I mentioned, there's a lot of different overdubs and layers in this beginning part. One of the cool ones that I just wanted to point out happens over this transition where it goes. So this part you would probably want to use a pick for, and it's going to go 14, 12, 10. So I would use 3 fingers here. I would use pinky, second finger first. So it's going to go 14, 12, 10. Same thing on the B string, 14, 12, 10. And then you're going to shift down and you're going to do 12, 11, 9. And I would probably use pinky, ring first, and then end with your pinky here on the D. And that lays over top of that part. So it's... Alright, so let's see what that sounds like over top of it. There's this really cool part after the intro. It's just one singular guitar. You probably want to use a pick for this part, although you probably could do it with your thumb. And what it is, it's a series of these big pull-offs. So you're going to go 4, pulling off to 2, pulling off to open. And that's just one pick movement. And as I pick, I kind of flick my finger down to get energy out of the string. So I'm going to do that 4 times. Now you could even do it if it's strong enough without the pick, because you're getting enough energy from flicking the string on those pull-offs. So it's going to be 4, 2, 0, 4 times. And then that's going to go from the, you're going to go from the G string to the D string to the A string for 2 cycles. So it's 4 times. And then that's that little fill section after the intro. Great little finger exercise too.